You know that the F1 generation formed by the crossing of a tall plant with a dwarf one were all tall. But to know how the F1 generation is different from their tall parents, the genotype of F1 should be considered. When two F1 plants were self, tall and dwarf plants were obtained in the ratio 3:1. How the character dwarfness which disappeared in the F1 generation reappeared in the F2 generation. To know this also, genotype of the plants should be considered. In F1 generation, the genotype of the tall plant is capital T small t, in which capital T represents tallness and small t represents dwarfness. During gamete formation, from this, capital T goes to one gamete and small t to the other gamete independently without mixing each other. Thus, two types of gametes are formed. Dwarf plants were formed when a male gamete with small t combines with a female gamete with small t. During gamete formation, the factors which are seen as pairs segregate independently without mixing with each other, and each one goes to each of the gamete. This is called law of segregation. The hybridization experiments conducted by Gregor Johann Mendel in garden pea plants led to the formulation of Mendel's laws. Mendel selected tall and dwarf plants for his experiments. One was considered as the male plant and the other as the female plant. He then removed the stamens of the female flower and artificially pollinated it by using pollen grains from the male flower. The female flower was covered with a polythene bag to prevent contamination by other pollens. He repeated the above experiments by interchanging the male and female plants. He collected the seeds produced in both stages and were sowed and allowed to germinate. All the plants produced were tall. There were no dwarf plants. Mendel put forward a hypothesis to explain how this happened. Each character in an organism is controlled by a pair of factors. These were later identified as genes. Let's observe how the characters explained by Mendel is inherited to the first generation. From these experiments, the law of dominance was formulated. When a pair of contrasting characters combine together, only one character gets expressed in the first generation and the other remains hidden. This is called law of dominance.
Gregor Mendel continued his experiments on pea plants considering two pairs of contrasting characters. Then he conducted hybridization experiments on pea plants which were tall and round seeded with dwarf and wrinkled seeded. He got tall and wrinkled seeded plants in the first generation. When F1 plants were self-pollinated, plants obtained in the F2 generation were of four types. They are tall plants with round seeds, tall plants with wrinkled seeds, dwarf plants with round seeds, and dwarf plants with wrinkled seeds. Out of these four types, two were of new types. They are tall and wrinkled and dwarf and round seeded. They were different from the parents which were tall round and dwarf wrinkled. In the F2 generation, tall combined with wrinkled and dwarf combined with round. As a result of this, new varieties were formed. Through these experiments, Mendel could find out the reason for the appearance of new combination of characters in offsprings which were not expressed in parents. Mendel explained that the appearance of new combination of character in offsprings is due to the independent assortment of each character.